What happens when the future you imagine quietly disappears? Not because you made a mistake or you lacked faith, but because life simply turns. At age 25, Tim Timmons was diagnosed with incurable cancer. But it isn't just his story, it's also Hilary's, his wife. It's the story of a young couple who had to decide together whether faith would be something they performed or something they actually lived. Hi, friends. I'm Jem Fadling, and this is the Unhurried Living podcast, where we inspire you to rest deeper, live fuller, and lead better. The Timmons' new book, Waking Up Again, isn't about cancer. It's about waking up to the gift of today and to grief and to gratitude sharing the same space, and walking with Jesus in the 10,000 minutes of an ordinary week. Today, we're talking about what it means to live awake together. Today, I'm joined by Tim and Hilary Timmons. Tim is a Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, and worship leader whose life has been shaped by more than 2 decades of living with an incurable cancer diagnosis. But what makes this story compelling is not just perseverance, it's also perspective. Together, Tim and Hilary have chosen to live what they call an experiment in joining Jesus in both the mundane and extraordinary moments of life. Tim also founded 10,000 Minutes, a nonprofit and podcast built on the conviction that following Jesus isn't confined to Sunday gatherings, but lived out in the 10,000 minutes of the week beyond them. In their new book, Waking Up Again, they invite us into a life that is not primarily about enduring hardship, but about discovering the nearness of God within it. It's about grief and gratitude, humor and honesty, and waking up each day to the presence of Jesus, even when the future feels fragile. I'm so grateful for Tim and Hilary, and I know you'll enjoy our conversation. Tim and Hilary, thank you so much for saying yes. It's so good to see both of your faces.
Yeah, well, you said $20, so I felt like this was the right. Yeah.
Can I Venmo you?
Or, yeah, Venmo would be great. No, we're so honored. We are such huge Fadling fans. So this is the easiest one we'll do.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, I will do my best to be a good interviewer and to be fun and engaging. So we try that?
Yeah, it better be great. Is what I'm trying to say. This better be the best.
Better be so good. Well, I did actually get you on here because I want to talk about your book, but I have to stop off at the movie first because Alan and I just saw it a week and a half ago and we bawled. You remember Alan? He's 6'3". He's a big guy. He had his handkerchief out.
Oh, no.
No, it was so good. So good. The Father's love. And so maybe just a couple questions here about the movie. You know, what was it like to have your life represented? You know, I saw you. Once I watched one video, Tim, of you on Instagram, then it just kept putting you first. So I saw everything because it kept saying, here's where Tim is now. And look who he's talking to now.
So sorry.
So no, that was very cool. And then, of course, you have to tell me about Milo Ventimiglia.
Yeah.
So tell me stories.
Milo's the coolest human. You know, they don't meet your heroes, but he's the guy you're like, I want to meet that guy. So he's from Orange, like from where we're from. And his mom's name's Carol. My mom's name's Carol. We have 2 older sisters. He's just this really sweet, generous guy who acts like the way of Jesus. It's really fascinating for a non-Jesus follower. He acts like the heart of Jesus more than most Christians I know. I mean, it's really bizarre, Jem. And so I've learned so much from him, and we love he and his wife. And that's been really beautiful. Really a beautiful relationship.
So cool. I actually saw him on something because, again, once they started throwing all the Timmons videos at me, then I started seeing the Milo Ventimiglia.
Sorry.
And he has just a glorious review of you as a human being. You know, he just thought you were so authentic and so much like you. So I could tell that there was a real connection made there. That's very cool.
Yeah. So cool.
Definitely a lifelong friendship for sure.
Really? So are they still out here then in California?
They are.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So their home burned in the Malibu fires. So my first time I ever talk to him. We're on FaceTime together, and about 45 minutes in, all of a sudden he's like, "Uh-oh." I'm like, "What?" And he turned the iPad around, and you could see in the backyard, you could see this plumes of smoke, reminding me of the old Laguna days, And so he, within minutes, left, got out of there, got the dog, got his wife, who was, 8 months pregnant, and then their house burned in minutes. It was just so sad. So even in the movie, how he's talking about being in the fire and God is with us in the fire, and like that was really emotional for him to actually talk about, and it was really special.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many beautiful moments in the movie. What did it feel like to have your life portrayed? I could tell, obviously, they took artistic license and left out big bosses, but
Yeah.
the story still came through. What does it feel like to see that?
Yeah. It was such an amazing experience. We got to be on the set quite a bit as they filmed the different scenes of our lives. So to revisit an earlier part of our life, especially one that was really difficult, and to have these people portraying us and doing it they were so honoring to us. And um, it it was such a reflective, kind of almost meditative experience to see your life playing out in front of you. That was such a season of spiritual wrestling for me. So it kind of brought up all those themes again. And I think recognizing too where God has walked us since then was such a beautiful thing to kind of sit in. And then I know for Tim, getting to see some of those sickness scenes and, viewing yourself from outside of yourself and kind of grieving, I think seeing it portrayed was a whole different experience than living it, obviously, too. So there were layers of almost grieving, I think you did.
Grieving and empathy. And I mean, it's the therapeutic tactic of, hey, there's a chair over here, put yourself in that chair.
Yeah.
How does that person feel? How does little Timmy feel in this moment? And it was like a real life experiment with that. And we got to actually live that. I mean, I wish everybody could have that experience. And that's why therapy does it like that. But it was so profound. I had an empathy for myself that I've never had before. Because all of us, like everybody who's gone through things, anybody who's listening, when you're going through something hard, you're just like, we're pushing through and we're like, you know what? I got to wake up again today. But to sit back and go, oh, man, from the outside, I'm sorry. This day sucks. I mean, it was really, really profound.
Yeah. It's kind of like being able to then shift self-compassion. Sometimes it's easier for us to look at someone else and apply God's grace to them or to have compassion on them. But it's harder to turn it back on myself sometimes. But to see yourself out there, then, look at him. That's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. He was lonely. Or that was like, I remember it makes me emotional. Like you were worrying about these things, Tim. Like I remember the things you were holding at those moments, like that's really, really a huge gift.
Good. I remember so many times referring back to Instagram, you would be posting live from the hospital just in the last years about when you'd have different issues. We're not going to say them here, but you know what they are.
Yeah.
Because you lived through
good looks. I'm too good looking. And it's kind of like, pull that back. Yeah.
But just the real life ups and downs and pains gone through in an ongoing way for these 25 years. I didn't realize that the diagnosis came when you were 25 and just 50. Half your life. Is that crazy?
It is.
I'm wondering if we could pivot. I could talk about the movie. I have to have you back. We'll talk about the movie.
Yeah,
I did want to actually talk about your book because how amazing that you got to write a book together and to hear both of your voices. And so I do want to, in case there are some people out there who may not know a little bit of the background, take us back. When the diagnosis came, you're 25.
Yeah.
Incurable cancer. We're leading, we're not bearing the lead here.
Yep.
What was going on inside of you 25 years, maybe individually and as a couple? What was happening?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They said you got 5 years to live and stage 4. I mean, it was just this wild thing when all of us, I was just speaking to college students just this morning, And, I'm talking about waking up again, this idea, this concept. And I'm thinking when I was in college, it was like, yeah, okay, buddy. All right, dude, I got the rest of my life. This is every day. This is like guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we felt at 25. And then when it's like, well, maybe not. I think, man, that was the most sobering moment. I think death and major sorrow is the gift of it is sobriety, of just what's important, what's not. It's like almost getting hit in a car crash, and all of a sudden you swerve out and you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, God, thank you. I have another day. I mean, it's that kind of like profound gift that I think is what I get to experience every day in some way. And just that's kind of why I write this X on my wrist every morning. Like I got another day. It's not promised. So I think at 25, man, that was the most sobering moment for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then first year, we're like, yeah, we're gonna, Jesus, you're gonna heal me, and let's go. People watch what Jesus does. And then year one, and I'm now in surgery. I'm still not healed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where my wrestle comes in because, growing up in the church, you're taught pray by faith and you'll be healed. And we just kind of took that as like the step by step instruction for what to do. And we would just believe that he'd be healed. And so as the years continued, my wrestle started because then you have to answer the questions of, okay, if not, then what? And are you still good, God? Like, why? I think it opens up the age-old questions of why there's suffering. Why does God allow that? Why did he think creating a world where this was our reality might be worth it? And so I wrestled, I think, a lot more than Tim did with some of those more like theological issues. But it was very real and up against my actual relationship with God because they were these big questions that impacted how safe he felt, how good he felt. And so I had to really struggle through. And I think what we ultimately came away with of being able or having to hold this is our reality. It's not going to resolve the way that we hoped it would. But he is with us in a way. I think we started to get to know Jesus in a way we could not otherwise have experienced him, in the darkness, in the sorrow, in our uncertainty, in our fear. There just is a depth of relationship that you don't get to until you come up against some of those kinds of things. And we never thought we would be able to say the cancer diagnosis was worth it. And several years in, we both said we wouldn't give this up because of who God shaped us to be through it and how we got to know him is shaping us. Yeah, continually shaping us. But and that's not, we don't say that lightly, that we wouldn't give up cancer. I mean,
cancer's the dumbest.
Yeah. And we've been given the gift of time. So like you said, it's been 25 years and so grateful for that. Even though there isn't a healing, we have had this season of time. And yeah, I wouldn't give it up.
In the movie, there are a few parts that I just cry. I've seen it 850 million thousand gajillion times. But every time, so there's a scene where Hilary and I, you kind of see both of us interact by our car, and I go to write an X on her wrist, which is my thing. And she's like, I'm not ready for that yet. That makes me emotional every time. So I'm like, I remember those days of her being like, no, I love you, but I'm not ready for that. And then when she writes it on her wrist while I'm in the hospital, I mean, that was just so emotional to see who God has created in us and is creating us to be in the season. So that is just so profound and beautiful to me.
Yeah, I caught those moments too. I was wondering, was that the way it happened? Was there a conversation between the two of you? And did you say, I'm not ready?
No. And I actually, in real life, have never written the X on my wrist.
My feelings. I mean, if we can I feel blank when you. Okay, keep going.
But in my conversation with the actress who plays me, her name is Ariel. I talked a lot about how much I wrestled with God and that it took me a lot longer to come to kind of trust with Him than it did for Tim. And so those two scenes kind of represented my struggle early on. And then kind of that surrender of God is good. He has us, He has me, regardless of what happens. So it was more representative of what I was struggling with internally.
That makes so much sense. It was beautifully done. And just as you were sharing, Hilary, I mean, the word that jumped out at me with, not surprising for someone from Unhurried Living, the word with. And,
Yes.
You're talking about, Peterson talks about along the same direction. And when you're I'm going to call it suffering with cancer for 25 years, that's a rough road. It's a rough pill to swallow. And if you're not going to give up on God or Jesus, Christianity, and you're going to stay in there, then you've got to end up somewhere. Right. And I think the word with encapsulates that landing place. God is with me in all things. And that is, that's bigger than theology, right? It's, tell me more about that, how that feels to you guys.
Yeah. I mean, you were even instrumental in some of that grappling and wrestling too, just in the spiritual direction I did with you. Because I think it comes in different almost iterations in your life. I think early on, I had to wrestle with, was God good? Is He with me? And once that felt kind of settled, then, in different seasons of life, I just wrestled with in general. So then what's this prayer thing? Like, how do you answer prayer? Do you, just all the questions surrounding prayer, which is a lot of what I wrestled with you about. And, you can tend to, when prayers aren't answered the way you hope, you can tend to kind of hold God out at arm's distance. Even though in my head, I can assent that He's good, that He's with me, there's living into it in your actual life too. Like, do I still interact with Him in that intimate way? Even though it feels like at times He's not good because I'm not seeing the things in my life that I'd hope to see, or I'm not experiencing Him the way that maybe I'd like to. There's times when He seems silent, and it just, a relationship with God, it isn't something we can control, and He isn't someone we can control. And that ultimately is such a good thing, leaning into the mystery of who He is and how He changes and knows us and is with us. But I feel like at every stage of my life, I've had like a little something different to kind of wrestle with Him about. But also, that's part of what it is to be intimate with someone.
That's with. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have something to say about with Tim?
No, I just spoke on that this morning. That was my whole thing at Lipscomb University. It was all on witness. And I think when we were together through our years of post mega church land that we got to spend together, and like those were some of the most shaping years of our life for sure. In our spiritual awakening was the years that we got to spend with you two. And that's when with made the most sense to us. I was like, I will never work for God again. It's when I quit working for God and said, we'll just hang out with you for the rest of my days. So if you want to open doors that are best for your kingdom and not mine, you open those. And even this whole season, my favorite part about this season is that I haven't opened a door yet. Since those days, I made a commitment just to never open a door. And Jesus, if it's best for yours kingdom, then you open that thing, I'll walk through it. So to have a movie and these songs and a book and all these things that are awesome, and Jimmy Kimmel, I mean, just all these crazy things. It's like, man, I didn't open any of these. And how much more fun is that to do that with Him? And if He gets me up another day, then we hang out with Him again another day. And if not, then I'm with Him then. So yeah, it's like that witness thing, man, that changed my life when we were all hanging out together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
so
sure.
funny. You're leading into the next place I wanted to go, which I was trying to remember how long ago that was. That was right before you moved, wasn't it? Yeah. How long ago was
Yeah,
that?
It was 2010. I feel like it
Oh,
was
wow.
2010 to 2000 or 2000 or 11.
2012 probably to
Yeah.
2015,
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would say ish.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you
Sign
lived
the
out
record.
there
I
for
get it.
10
Yep.
years?
11. Yeah.
Yeah,
11 years. Oh my gosh. I do remember that. I
I know.
actually pulled out, I think this might have been from the book. I pulled out a little quote because you were talking about this. You said you are in, this is a journal entry. You are in the preface of the second book of the trilogy of your life. And you said, I was trying so hard to work for God, thinking that's what he wanted for me. In the leaving, I realized that all he wanted for me was him and what he was doing. And we all were together for a couple years there in that everybody was sort of in this
Mhm.
in
Yeah. There
between
were 3 years.
transitionary place.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
don't really know what that was, but I think there's something else. And we sort of landed together for a bit. And I remember it was such fondness, such gloriousness, and the joy that you both just exuded and sort of what we had for a while was just lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember you
That was,
saying out loud
I've
to
called
us,
that. Yeah. I'm
what?
going to go.
I was just going to say, I remember you saying out loud to us before you wrote it in the book that you were talking about this second book of the trilogy. I remember that. I thought,
Yeah.
wow, that's such a wide perspective view on your own life, knowing sort of where you are in the story. I loved it.
Yeah. I journaled that. I remember literally journaling and going, God, that is so weird. That is such a thing that I would write. Like, well, not really in some ways, but it felt like this weird thing. I'm like, there's no way that's you. But I'm just going to write it down because it feels right. And so I just wrote, Tim, you're in the second book. You're in the preface of the second book in the trilogy of your life. And wrote it. And then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose in our world and everything kind of fell apart. It was like, oh, okay, Jesus, go. Like, I'm done trying to tell you what to do. Like, hey, God, would you do this and do that? Which is fine, but way more fun. So that's when we started the experiment of let's be those people who are dumb enough. I think we all kind of said that for a few years. Like, let's be the people that are dumb enough to trust him. Like, yeah, if it doesn't work, man, we went down trusting God. Like, that's pretty cool. So
Right. I just
that
said
was
this to someone the other day. Someone was interviewing me on a podcast, and I was talking about an unhurried life. Just the generalities of what it means to
yeah
try to
yeah
live
yeah
this
yeah
weird thing. We call it an unhurried life. Call it whatever you want. We're trying
Mhm.
to
yeah
walk in the ways of Jesus, non
Yeah.
anxiously and present, right?
yeah
And
yeah
I
yeah.
said, Alan and I are just audacious enough to say, let's give this a shot.
Yep. I
It
think
couldn't hurt.
that was what we all like. I've told people that the most successful failure I've ever been a part of was our 3 years together. That it was just, we tried to start this awesome church. I was like, what are we doing? Like, what? We don't want to start a thing. Like, who wants to? That's so stupid. Let's try some stuff. And man, that changed. I mean, we are such different people because we got to hang out with that little community of like that failure, like in
Right. Yeah.
Western terms, the total utter failure of a church start was
Right.
like the biggest, most profound thing ever. Oof, so good.
Interesting.
good.
Yeah, I would have never labeled it that because I know it short lived. Like it was a church plant, it didn't grow, and then it closed. Like that was the end. But
Yeah,
in the midst, it was the connections we made and the just
Yeah.
the holding space and the watching and waiting for God to move all of us. And then
yeah,
everybody pretty much went on. If you think it through, Fields,
yep,
Webster's, Fadlings, Timmons,
yep,
we all moved into the
yep,
next thing, right, of our lives.
Yep.
yeah,
And we started
Mhm.
Unhurried Living. It was a
yeah,
little bit after that, but definitely we're in the transitionary moments toward what we're doing right now. So yeah,
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Same.
And what a gift! I mean, I love hearing our story, but it's also the gift is the invitation to anybody listening to go, man, some of these seasons that suck and are like,
Right.
what's happening? This is like, what are we doing? That even in those places, if we're sober enough to join him in those places, it's like the chapter in our book about manure. And I
Yep.
talked
Yep.
about I was teaching a bunch of like it was the weekend after Christmas was the worst weekend to give a pastor ever. And so it was like, you got 5-year-olds and 95-year-olds in this one room. And how do you talk to them? And like talk about the 4 soils of the heart. And so anyways, I was looking at manure and, cause that's soil. And it kept coming to manure, that manure was like this gift to soil and to plants. And I was like, okay, I'll look at the definition. And the definition of manure is the softening agents for hardened soil. And if you think of it, that whole point of that is the heart. The heart is the soil. And the softening agent for our hardened hearts is manure. It's the stuff, right? I mean, gosh, if I can have that perspective more. And then the next definition is the manure is the stuff that holds all the nutrients to the base of the plant. So when the water comes, the rain, the storms, it's actually holding the nutrients to the plant. And that's so profound. And I want to get rid of all dung because it's stinky and stupid and it gets on us. And yet, like, what if it's one of the great gifts? I mean, it's kind of biblical. So yeah, man, so profound.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. It is a rough realization. You sort of have to move to acceptance of the fact that it is the hard stuff that forms us and deepens us, keeps us close to God. I wish opposite. But it is, if I look back over I got a whole nother decade on YouTube. I look back over my 60 years and I'm like, it is all the hard places that have made me who I am now.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm grateful. And like you said, I wouldn't I mean, I didn't enjoy it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But would you want to be less who God has made you to be? No.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So that's so profound there. The other thing you were talking about back in the day, and I can't remember when you came up with this, but I remember you talking about it while we were together, is the 10,000 minutes.
Yep.
We glitched there for a sec. Did you hear me?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was when we left. I'm sorry, our dog is like, hey, everybody, I kind of want to be a part of this. Yeah. Cujo, her name's Cujo. She's real small.
Oh, no.
When we had left being at Mariners Church, which was a great season, and I think our disillusionment was more on us than on anybody else. We kind of own our own disillusion in working for God for so many years and us being so exhausted. And that's just kind of the way that we thought we were supposed to do it. So when we left the weekend, I left Mariners. I was leading worship for a camp at Hume Lake, and the pastor just mentioned there are 10,080 minutes in a week. I was like, 10,080 minutes. And I realized that I had spent my entire life, all of the church's resources go into this 80-minute gathering. And I'm like, dude, that's some wild math right there. Just 80 minutes out of the 10,080 is we're like, come to church. We will, church, we will tell you about Jesus. This is where you can worship Jesus in the 80 minutes. This is when we'll tell your neighbors about Jesus. It's like, dang it. I mean, the 80 is fine. Let's keep gathering as in the 80 as at a coffee shop or in a building or whatever. But I just wanted to be more part of the 10,000 minutes. Like, that's when the stuff hits the fan. That's when life gets hard, is in the 10,000 minutes. So I just committed to the rest of my life will be aiming toward joining Jesus in the 10,000 minutes. So yeah, we started a nonprofit and we get to put out resources just to help the church join Jesus in the 10,000 minutes. What could happen, Jim? Like, if Jesus people looked like Jesus, not like some silly, weak religion thing that we got going on, but like if we looked like Jesus, that would be crazy. So that's that's all I really get excited about, is inviting people into that, and myself, us included. Like when the people that we're not big fans of in the government say anything on the worldwide interweb, and I'm like, oh my gosh, all I want to do is damn that person and say other words because it's just true. And then I'm like, dang it, you don't get to do that. Not the 10,000 minutes. If we get to join him in praying blessing for that person, like, who does that? I'll follow that guy any day. So yeah, that's the invitation in the 10,000 minutes.
Good. Yeah. What do you think about that, Hilary? What does a 10,000 week look like for you?
Yeah, I think just awareness of, like you were talking about, the presence of Jesus with us and how that changes things because it opens our eyes to whether it's the small interactions throughout the day that can hold so much more power than we normally see when we're just moving through and moving quickly. But it's seeing people, it's seeing opportunities to love and serve. It's, yeah, being present to conversations that come up with our kids that otherwise I'm not aware of or attendant to. It's how we interact. I think being present to both Jesus and then to his people, as opposed to just powering through life, kind of about every other thing, but the things that are most important.
Yeah, it's an attempt to stay as sober. We can stay as sober as possible, and that's kind of our aim.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
not
rough in this
alcohol
culture, right?
sober or drug
No, I
sober,
know
but
what you
just
mean.
like just sober to the nearness of God. I mean, what could freaking happen if if we lived sober to his view versus ours? I mean, it sounds so cliche and silly, but I mean, you get this more than anybody. And man, it could be such a cool season when we figure that out.
I love it. I mean, I want to talk to you guys because I know you're my people. One of the words that I've been using to talk about what you're saying is the word goodness. Just the fruit of the spirit of goodness. What if you could overcome evil with evil?
Yeah.
Right. And what if,
Right.
if I don't know how many Christians are on the planet, 1 billion? Have I heard that number before? Maybe. What if
Sure, it
1
feels right.
billion people on the planet were good? Like they were good people. I'm not saying the good girl do list. I'm talking about
Yeah.
and then being good to other people. I'm totally with you. I think that would make a difference. Just actual real people living their actual real lives in their own exactly where they are with their family, with their friends.
Yeah.
And when I go to Trader Joe's, I'm at Trader Joe's every week. Can I be good to that sweet girl? Bringing up I could be good to her. I don't have to act like she's not a human. And I know this from experience because my son works at Trader Joe's and he says, Mom, people are mean. Like people treat them. He actually said sometimes they just treat us like we're part of the furniture that's in the building.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's so wrong. I'm just putting an exclamation point on what you guys just said. I think we could be good. Just good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's be, if we could be hated, we're going to be hated. Everybody's like, well, we're supposed to be hated for stuff. I'm like, well, for the right thing, maybe like that. We were so loving. We were so kind. We were so generous with our stuff. We were so like blessing of our enemies that people are like, those guys are jerks. They bless their enemies too much. Like, let's go. Let's be hated for that.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Oh, well, I'm wondering, let's pivot here to talk about marriage for a sec. In light of all this, we've sort of talked about sort of individual, but what is, there's probably been periods of isolation, maybe some anger, maybe a little depression there. I don't know. You can tell me. But I mean, what has helped you guys stick it out together? Like, I'm sure, someone's high and someone's low, maybe. What happens when you both hit the skids at the same time? What does that look like over the last 25 years?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we have ever both been low at the same time. I do remember.
We've never had problems, so we've never done that.
You haven't had
sad for other people who have had problems. No, we just pretty much been smooth sailing. So, any other questions?
No, early on, I remember initially in the first several years of diagnosis, he is the most extreme extrovert known to man. But it was such an overwhelming season that he really needed to pull back. And that was so unusual. It kind of created a whole different dynamic for our marriage. And I think so much of it is giving each other the space and permission to be where we both are individually and to support each other in that place, knowing, with that support, you then can come through it. But I think we've definitely traded off kind of struggling, I definitely have gone through periods of depression for sure as I wrestled with what if I don't get to have my husband? Like, you get married and think we have the next 60 years together, and that may not be our story. And I had to really grapple with his death. And so him allowing me the space to struggle and wrestle and be upset with God. And yeah, I think allowing each other to be where each person is at and supporting each other in that has been huge.
Yeah. At the end of the book, there's a little chapter in there. I talk about wanting to use more words with ing instead of ed at the end of them. Like, I've learned this, or I figured this out. It's like, I don't know if I have. I'm learning this. I'm still processing. And I think we're just in the midst of continuing to work on our marriage. I mean, we work so hard on our marriage and have for so many years. I mean, year 11 was super hard. Year, I don't even know all the ones, but there have been a lot of hard years when we've not been connecting in different ways. And I don't know how we keep making it other than we're just like, I'm in this with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I think I'm learning how to give you more space on hard things when you're holding hard things. She's more emotional than I am. I'm more cerebral. Mm-hmm. And allowing her to have that process is something I'm in the midst of learning. And I think I'm doing better at. But I still got a ways to go with that. Yeah, I think our desire to own and repair has been like one of the greatest gifts in our marriage, even with our kids, but just to like own my crap and then repair, own it, repair, own it, repair. I mean, we just keep pushing that way. And that's been really helpful so far.
Yeah.
Do you remember all the way back to the very early years? Like, you've made your way to the way that you just described, but early on, did you have the tools and the awareness to know that you could allow the other person to be where they are? Like, how did you learn that at the beginning?
I knew it cerebrally because my mom's a therapist. We spent a lot of time with some really great therapists through the years. Some incredible people shaped us. Really, like, man. But practicing it is a whole different game.
It was like we knew it in theory, for sure. We were aware that's what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But living into it is a whole different thing. And that's just, you just have starts and stops, and you keep trying, and you find out the rhythms that work for you.
Yeah.
But it's just living it that taught us.
Yeah.
Well, what a great grace to have at least the knowledge. Some people don't have the knowledge right off, and it takes a while to even come upon that realization and then to practice. And I think what you're hitting on is really what long-term marriage is about anyway, right? You're hanging in there. I'm there for you no matter what. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
And then you just keep practicing.
Yeah. Right. You're right.
Remembering the things you know.
Yep.
I think what a gift for us to put more into marriage and give each other tools. And we did a marriage retreat this year in Hawaii. It didn't suck. But we got to kind of like facilitate one, not like we had any of the answers, but just ask really good questions. Some of that was just on giving us tools, but out of like just content land, but putting things into practice. So that's probably a really great word that you just, reminded us of, is the practice is so huge.
Yeah.
That's everything. I mean, in a relationship, it's also how we connect with God, right? They call them spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't just check them off. I'm practicing. One of the ways I like to think about it is that whatever I'm doing, I'm just practicing pivoting back to my intention, journey with God. Because usually I'm not usually like way over here. Not typically at this age, but I might be just like just a little. But in spiritual practice, my heart, this is the direction my heart is going. And so I'm going to practice
that picture.
Yeah, for the rest of my life, I'm practicing pivoting back to my intended direction. And so then what that can do, and I'm still struggling with this because I tend to be a perfectionist, happen fast, whatever. But I'm still practicing. I'm still practicing. because my heart and my mind veers off one direction. But I
Yeah.
think God honors our longing, He honors and each one of our pivots. So I practice, and that's what I hear you guys. Your marriage, and it works that way with your kids, probably. Oh,
For sure.
Yeah, man.
practice. So
Yeah, in the process of practicing. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
We got to have an ing on there. I'm processing, practicing.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep coming back to it. It really is more profound the longer that I'm kind of living into that idea. It's like, no, good. This gives me grace for myself. It gives me compassion. It also just lets me kind of go, cool. We're in the process. We're in the process with Jesus, not for him.
Oh, speaking my language. Yes.
Yeah, and how I mean,
Not
it's your
with
whole
and
concept.
for.
It's like how much lighter of a life a song called "Finally Breathing," and the concept is it's actually in the movie, but the concept is like most of my Christian life has been short breaths, just like, and as we're kind of like living into the rest and this idea, like, I can take deep breaths. I don't have to hold all this crap myself. Let's go.
Oh, good. Well, we can't end without talking about the two rails. I remember this. Two. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
That there's so many moments that I could talk to you about. And you've seen it. I've only seen it once,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
it really marks you. They did such a beautiful story, like the storytelling hit the right moment. So he's standing there and he's got both of his arms out and I'm holding grief, gratitude.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Yeah. This is my
so
grief.
beautiful.
This is my gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah, talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. They nail. I mean, I that's kind of just been something that I've been talking about for years, just trying to learn that in the process of learning how to hold, because I think in our Christian land, it's like, you know what, life's so hard, but God's good. Like that is the dumbest but ever, right in between life is hard and God is good. And I want to use the word and there. I think that word is so much more important than the word but. Just for my own, just for Tim Timmons, like I will go, you know what? I'm just going to be thankful for another day. But then I'm like wallpapering over this grief hole that is not actually being dealt with. And I think that's been a process in these past 10 years, probably, is me going, okay, we got to deal with some of this stuff. And which Hilary does really well. But I think I'm in the process of learning how to hold both. So I've just been talking about hold it. This is grief and holding this and giving it its space, and Jesus crying with his friends because he didn't go, nah, you don't need to cry about it. Just be grateful we got another day. Like he's crying with them in it. And he also woke us up again. Like holding these two has really been a good gift for me. And then how crazy that it gets to be a story in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting that I will err on the grief side and he'll err on the gratitude side. And some of that is personality and kind of our own spiritual, the way we're built to interact with God. But I love that he helps me to come to recognize where we can be grateful. And I help him to wrestle the way he needs to more and to grieve what he needs to grieve.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the balance of the two is what's beautiful. I think where Jesus wants us to live, you know.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love hearing how you guys are working together. I mean, this conversation is glorious. Just to hear you guys share. I know I've kind of missed you. I've watched from afar, so it's been so good to connect. And I think just to be another expert said, takes a lot of courage and intention to hold both of those together. That's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
So if you're even making the attempt, good for you. It's hard. Hard. Also, so even making that effort, huge endeavor. And just to swing it back here to unhurried living, what sometimes people think unhurried about being all like No, no, no. This is hard work. We're being intentional here. We're following Jesus. We're trying to not only do what he says, but we're trying to do it the way he did it.
Yeah.
That's a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
That takes intentionality, and grief was a master.
Yes.
Yeah. And so one of our bishop, he was our former bishop. He used to just say, Jesus, the smartest person that ever lived. Smart. He knew what he was talking about. So I just appreciate you guys so much. I love how you are building your lives together over all these years. I love how you walk with Jesus, talk about your him. I like how real it is, how fun it is, how deep. Because of who you are, you've got the joyful, bouncy Tim. You're like Tigger, right?
Yep.
See, I'm the Tigger in our marriage. And Alan, of course, I don't know which animal you're. Alan is Eeyore. He will admit it.
Yeah.
So having a Tigger and an Eeyore in the same room sometimes can be frustrating.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So good.
Yeah. Who are you?
I don't think you're Eeyore.
I'm not Eeyore, but I tend to be just the more, like
wrestler,
more intense in a lot of ways.
Who that is? We need to figure out which Winnie the Pooh you are.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is important.
Iron Man. I mean, I'm just thinking options. I don't know if that's one of the. Okay, Donald Duck.
Iron Man. Iron Man.
Yeah, I'm just spitballing here. Whatever.
I don't know where this is going. I'll just cut us off. I just want to say thank you guys so much again for saying yes to talking to me, talking to us. And by the way, Alan says hi.
Oh,
he will kill me if I forget to say hi. He sends his best. He had another appointment, or he would have popped up and said hello. But anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you, Jen.
Oh,
so good to see you.
Name of your book: Waking Up Again.
Yep.
Waking Up Again. Get it now. Get it now.
Anywhere.
Read it.
Anywhere where books are sold.
Get it anywhere.
Yeah. It's
really fun to read. Timmons is funny. The chapters are super short, and every section, there's a Hilary chapter, and you get to hear her heart. It's beautiful. So go out and get it now, Waking Up Again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on the Unhurried Living podcast. You can download free resources and learn more about us at unhurriedliving.com. And please subscribe and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. We'd also like to thank our partner, Life Audio. Check out their other faith-centered podcasts at lifeaudio.com. Blessings to you as you make your way.